PhD Flopper, the perk that is praised across the Call of Duty Zombies fanbase for its ability to let the player withstand explosions, something that back in the old zombie days was an essential thing since weapons like Mustangs and Sallys and even the ray gun had some severe splash damage. Now looking at Cold War, the perk seems slightly unnecessary, and the only time it would be really used was if a player would boldly decide to spawn in or use an RPG or even the monstrosity that the Thumper is. But what if I told you that the perk could potentially be one of the best additions to Cold War, as this perk opens up a massive amount of possibilities with its upgrades? That's what I will be going into today's video. I'll go over what the perk could be as a base, what potential upgrades it could have, and when it could potentially release. If you're wondering why I'm making this video, that is because for a while now we have had many leaks implying that the perks like Mule Kick, Double Tap, PhD Flopper, and Tombstone will be coming into the game. And since Tombstone ended up becoming true, I've decided to make a 3-part series where I go over each of the leaked perks and talk about them and how they can work inside Cold War. So if you would like to see those videos, I've made one on Double Tap and Mule Kick. I will link those down in the description. Also, to make it a slight bit more official, back in October, a promotional merchandise went live which basically showed both Tombstone and PhD Flopper as pins. Yet they are both actual perk bottles on these pins and not the cans that we have in Cold War, but it was still specific advertisement for Cold War Zombies itself, which was very interesting. Before we fully get into the video, be sure to subscribe and like the video, as that is very much appreciated. And without further ado, let's get into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is PhD Flopper itself. I feel like there will be a larger amount of players that don't know what this perk exactly does, and as I've explained it in my intro, it basically prevented you from taking fall damage and explosive damage, which was very good because on certain games like let's say Black Ops 1, you were able to basically run the Mustang and Sally, which was an explosive variant of the 1911 that you were able to get when you pack-a-punched, and basically shoot it wherever and never worry about getting knocked. Or for example the ray gun, which also has some splash damage in Cold War, but I don't feel like it's that big of a deal as it was in previous Call of Duties, even though it would be still nicer to have a ray gun that wouldn't really damage you as much. Now I don't know what weapons will be coming in the future, but I want to really quickly first mention when I think this perk will release. That is when we'll have a wonder weapon that could potentially be damaging us, which would give meaning to the perk on a certain map. Every single season there are rumors that we are going to be getting a map. I feel like every second map, if they are going to be doing it every season, will be more meaningful and actually be something for the story, and the ones in between I feel like will just be something little that we can enjoy while we wait for the second map. But now let's get on to the perk itself, as I feel like that's the reason you actually came here. This is kind of my theories and a bit of combination between other perks. Now I did always mention that I feel like Vulture Raid could be implemented into many different variants of the perks, but I feel like you can't really implement it in this one. The one that you can though is actually a perk from Black Ops 4 that I will get onto soon, but the base perk in my opinion doesn't have to be overpowered and could actually just be take 50% less splash damage, which would be very good as this would allow for one of the upgrades to fully make it 100%, and on top of that it would be just kind of a nice starter off to make more progression and upgrade the perk. It would give it more meaning as it's only 50%, so you still take some damage but not as much as you would without the perk. Now the first upgrade, I think that it should be explosive weapons should deal more damage. You could basically do a totally different style to this PhD Flopper, as it does base around explosions, and really Stamina Up has taken one of its actual purposes, which was to not take any fall damage. So I feel like this one would be actually really cool and very good for, let's say, progressing with camos, because I feel like, you know, there will be always new people hopping onto Cold War trying to go for Dark Ether, and they'll have to use the Thumper and the rocket launchers, and honestly if you had PhD Flopper while doing that, it would have made life easier, and hopefully when PhD drops, some people will actually be able to make their lives easier with the 50% less splash damage, and also with the increase of weapon explosive damage, which would be insane and would be very cool. Now for the second one, I think it should be when you do the slide animation, essentially explosions come out of your back. Now this does sound weird, but this is basically PhD slider that we actually saw in Black Ops 4, or the favorite fan made perk called Banana Colada. It essentially will create kind of an explosive burst behind you if you do the slide animation. This was a perk that honestly in Black Ops 4 I really didn't like. It felt very odd. Now actually non-triad game mode that in my opinion did it very well was Infinite Warfare. I actually really enjoyed the Infinite Warfare Blaze something. I don't exactly remember the perk's name, but essentially created like this fire effect behind you which burns zombies, and I used a lot because it lowered their health. Now that's what I feel like this PhD slider kind of upgrade would do. It would just kind of damage them. It wouldn't fully kill them, but it would make your life easier for other weapons. And I feel like I don't really use sliding animation in the game as much, so then it would kind of give me more meaning to slide. And this is nearly on 100% one that I feel like they will add into PhD, because it just seems kind of obvious that they will just add PhD slider since they already had in Black Ops 4. But now let's get on to the last upgrade, and I feel like this one will be to become fully immune to explosions. So we went from 50%, now let's do 100%. You do not take splash damage, you do not take any explosive damage. In the past, the perk also kind of created like your character was obviously panting and his stuff were a bit blurred, but you weren't like exactly fully downed. You were still alive, you still have full health. And in Cold War, the reason this one sounds weird is because the explosive damage isn't as much as it was in previous games. Here you spawn in with self-revive. On top of all of this, you can make the weapons overpowered and you don't exactly get cornered as much in my opinion. Also, this depends on the map severely. Maybe PhD will come out when explosions are really necessary. You will be able to, let's say, also maybe withstand some fire effects. So let's say Napalm Strike comes out, because that's rumored for Firebase Z, and I feel like that will relieve some fire, so maybe PhD will prevent you from taking any kind of like fire damage. Maybe even the Plague Hounds. This would be actually a really good addition. You would be able to withstand Plague Hounds weird green gas that they emit that actually takes damage. So there will be multiple purposes, and I guess some other zombies might have some other effects that will leave stuff like that. So on top of being immune to explosions, there could be so much more things added to this that will be really benefited, and making PhD Flopper almost an essential perk for every single match that you play. And that's going to be for the video. I don't want this video to be long. I feel like I went from really long video about double tap to a shorter video with Mule Kick, and even a shorter video now, hopefully. I hope you guys enjoyed. I really did enjoy going into these perks, and I kind of want to make more videos like this where I kind of talk about, let's say, the story and other things like that. But if you're new here, be sure to subscribe. Firebase Z is dropping super soon, and we'll be making a bunch of videos and live streams on that. So if you're enjoying, then again, be sure to subscribe and turn on those post notifications, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace out.